Hey folks, thanks for tuning in to the latest episode of Vinyl and Vision. Here we are with episode 102. Today's very special guest is Daniel Jean. Daniel is the singer and guitarist for the band Mirakler. I think I've heard people do a different pronunciation. I'm not sure. I guess I should have asked. Sorry, Daniel. Sorry to fuck that up. But I wanted you guys to know that Daniel stopped by while he was on tour. Actually came here to the house, which was a really great treat because I love to have people here, and it's so nice to be able to speak with someone kind of face to face instead of over the computer. So that was interesting. So the production here is a little different. The video is a little different, and maybe the sound quality will be a little different. You kind of hear a lot of the ambiance around the neighborhood in some of this recording, so just be aware of that. It might not be your ears. I think I hear a locust at one point actually kind of buzzing because my door was open, but it was great having him. He was on tour and they played a great show here in Providence, which I went to and saw them, and they are a great band, and they have a wonderful new album out on Reptilian Records, which I purchased from him at his show, but as he says closer to the end of this episode, please go to Reptilian Records, I believe it's reptilianrecords.com, to purchase your own copy, because it's a great way to help out Reptilian, help out Chris X over there. Very nice vinyl. Sounds awesome too. It's brutal heavy music. And speaking of heavy music, today's topic of conversation was Metallica's self-titled album, which everyone else knows as the Black Album. It is the record holder for best-selling metal record to date. So it's also a diamond record seller. It's like one of the top 5 best-selling records of all time. It was a big one. Kind of funny the way we get into it. So if you enjoy what we do here at Vinyl and Vision, what we ask is that you please do all the things with the internet. Like, share, subscribe, comment, rate, review. Even bad comments. I've gotten into it with someone on YouTube recently. It was hilarious. I appreciated the conversation because it didn't go horrible, but it's just interesting to have to make a point of some things and kind of re-explain yourself and so forth, which I guess you shouldn't do, but I couldn't help myself. I appreciate it. So if you care to do that, by all means do that, and you can also go to our website, www.psychicstatic.net, if you care to help us in a financial way, make a purchase over there, and it kind of goes towards funding this thing. Thank you very much, folks. Enjoy. I'm happy to have you guys here, and I'm happy to have you guys just hang out, chill out, have food,
That definitely,
just
for sure.
Place to relax,
Yeah, it's super chill. Yeah, so they were huge saviors for coming through on let alone on a Monday night, because who the fuck wants to put a Monday or Tuesday night on? Is
yeah,
I know, it's come on, yeah, it's a tough ask, but but let alone to have a sweet bill with bands we actually want to play with, fuck yeah,
yeah.
So yeah, I'm super excited to play with them tonight. Yeah.
Great, man. Well, I'm looking forward to tonight too. Unfortunately, this won't be ready in time for the rest of your tour, but you're doing a few more dates, and then you're heading back home.
Yeah, we got the Bedtime Magic, and then we got some stupid thing in Boston. It's like some DJ night or something.
Tomorrow?
Wednesday.
It's
like a Zulu or something. It's like some DJ night.
Okay.
I don't know. It's like
Zulu. That's like the corner spot, connected to the Middle East.
It's part of the Middle East, yeah.
Right.
I don't know anything about it. Somebody was just, but I was just like, I don't know what the hell this is, and someone's like, oh, it's part of Middle East, and I was like, oh, cool.
Yeah.
Middle East. I know what that Middle East is. So yeah. So we were just like, all right, we're gonna do that, and I guess it's one of the dudes from Heavy Booking.
I don't know it.
Heavy. They're like a booking agency or whatever. So,
okay.
So we were just like, all right, rub elbows with him. Cool. Sounds good.
Yeah.
And then we're on to 2 dates with Cherubs.
Oh, nice.
Which we're stoked about.
Yeah.
And then and our buds Nub from Baltimore are playing both those two with us. So and then
awesome,
there's
man.
one last one in Richmond, and then when we're playing with Cherubs in Pittsburgh too. Basically, when we get back, we have a few days off, and then playing with Cherubs in Pittsburgh. So
cool.
with to tops also.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, good, man. That sounds great.
We've been trying to rub in instead of calling them T-tops, we've been doing the tops thing.
Tops.
Yeah, like you get the the like the John Mulaney, Nick Kroll thing where they do the like cocaine.
No, I haven't seen any of their stuff.
They have like that skit where they do the two old guys and they like they slur all the words and they're like we did a bunch of cocaine, and like so we've been affectionately calling them tops.
Nice.
Instead of T-tops, and we're trying to get the stick and
yeah. Well, they're not car guys anyway, so might as well.
So yeah, we're gonna try to get people to call them tops.
Tops. You got it. All right, so let's see. So we're here to discuss an album that's important to you. I want to jump right into it, right? So you chose Metallica's Black Album.
I did.
I have to kind of figure out what your age is.
I am 44.
44. So yeah, so you are right around my age.
Yes.
So that means you were a young adolescent when this came out in 91.
It's probably around 12, yeah.
Yeah. So
7th grader.
So how was that? How did it come about?
Like, how did the album like affect me, or how did
you kind of hear it first, and then I imagine you picked it up?
I actually don't like the album that much.
What? Okay. Well, that's all right. That's okay. That's valid because I know how that can happen. So tell me about 12-year-old you.
So yeah, I guess the weird thing is I'm a semantic person. I like to play on semantics. So you were like, yeah, tell me an album that impacted you. Mm-hmm. And I was like, yeah, it impacted me. I don't really like the album though.
Oh, it impacted you negatively.
Yeah, well, it played a major role in my life. It shaped me musically, and it shaped me in my relationships with friends, and it parted me and took me down the road of punk rock.
Okay.
It caused the divide, like in my friend group, basically, where a lot of my friends went metal at that point, and I went punk.
Okay.
So it was like the divisive album because it was like the mainstream album that like basically hit.
Right.
And after that basically came grunge. Mm-hmm. And prior to that, I was all hip hop. I was backpack hip hop. I was De La Soul. I was Tribe Called Quest. I was Jungle Brothers. I was Poor Righteous Teachers, Public Enemy.
Weird.
That's all I was. I was a young little hip hop head.
Okay.
That was me. And then so Metallica came and kind of floored us a little bit. You know, it was the metal. It was the first thing that like my neighborhood best friend, he got a guitar, heard that, and he was rich, and his dad like bought him a Paul Reed Smith, flame top Paul Reed Smith, and like a Marshall, like a 2x12, and it was like I was like, how are you affording this? And I was like, well, my dad's bought it for me. Like, but we're not rich,
Sure.
I was like, well, who cares? Like, you're rich, you can afford it. Like that's awesome. Like,
you're not rich, your dad's rich.
But like he wasn't very like creative or anything like that. And of course, like once we started hearing this, and then and then Nirvana hit, and then Pearl Jam, like all around the same time. I don't know what the exact order was, but it was all right. That was 91-ish.
91 was Metallica's Black Album, then 92-ish was Nirvana and Pearl Jam, and everything else came.
So we were like, oh, guitar rock is happening basically in our worlds, and we were introduced to that and Spin Doctors or whatever else hit around that same era,
Sure.
So Guitar World started happening, and we were picking up guitar magazines and basically just listening to loud music all of a sudden, and picking up Columbia House, and seeing like, oh my God, if you like Metallica, you might like Kingdom Come, and like Lynyrd Skynyrd, and then we'd be like, what is this? And we'd listen and be like, well, I don't like Lynyrd Skynyrd. I don't like Kingdom Come. Like I don't like this stuff, and like getting our 12 cassettes, and then signing up for another thing, and then signing up for what was the other one? BGM, or is it BGM? I don't remember. It was BMG. Yeah, that was it.
Right.
And so we're signing up for all these like different cassettes and CDs, and being like, what all can we get for 12 cents or a penny? Yeah, exactly what it was. 12 cassettes for a penny, or 12 CDs for a penny, and and just trying to milk it and get all these different things, and signing up our parents, and then writing back and being like, my son doesn't have my authority to sign up under my name. This must be canceled, and and then getting all this stuff for free, and then just keep doing it again. But yeah, just signing up for all this new guitar stuff, guitar rock driven music, and we were 12 years old, so whatever. But basically with Metallica, it was the first thing that kind of like impacted us to whatever degree at the time, like, you know, and it was like, you know, just a lot of and like, you know, like Hetfield just like hitting you, and like, and it was good. Like, I'm not gonna sit there and say it wasn't good, because like looking back, like I do like Metallica. Like, it opened me up on, you know, early Metallica, and like it is I guess a good album, but I'm just not here to like sit here and tell you like it was like it's like this phenomenal album that was just, like, you know, this pivotal point in my life. But it just changed me because like I remember my friend like sitting in the room with his guitar, with his Paul Reed Smith, and like, you know, fumbling through and learning how to play like Enter Sandman. And, you know, that was like, you know, one of the first things that like, you know, everyone was like, oh, I can play Enter Sandman. Oh my God. And like, and then like, you know, you could go to guitar stores and, you know, people would be like, play Enter Sandman. And I actually remember the neighbor that was in our neighborhood too. Like, he also got a guitar, and his whole thing was, we would go to like the bus stop and we'd be waiting, and his whole thing was, I could play Enter Sandman with my eyes closed.
Yeah. And
like a few people like thought that was like pretty awesome.
Sure. Yeah. It's like, impressive.
Yeah. And we were, and there was, I think for a moment we were like, wow, he can play Enter Sandman with his eyes closed. Best. Yeah, and then we were then I remember we were like, wait a minute, what the fuck's he talking about? Like he's so close to his eyes. Like what the fuck does that mean? Like, what does it even fucking mean?
So you weren't playing at that time?
I wasn't playing. No, I didn't play guitar at all. Like, I didn't play guitar until like a lot later. But by default, I had told my buddy, I was like, we should start a band, like, because like why not?
Try to be like Metallica, why not?
Well, but that's the thing, is like at that point, like I had started to go more grunge, and I started to go more, and I had like found Fugazi at that point, and I started to go like a little more like punk, and like I found like Jesus Lizard and things like that, and so I started to go a little more towards that avenue.
Okay.
And he was going more towards, he had found like Deicide, and he had found like things like that. So he was starting to go more death and metal and stuff like that. And so it was very interesting to see the divide, but he also was not very creative. So he couldn't write a song. Like,
so you just learned covers.
So he wanted, no, it wasn't even that. So, but we wanted to write our own songs. So I would pick up the guitar, and I would sit there, and I remember just seeing the formulation of how he was playing Enter Sandman. And I was just like, okay, well, so if you put your fingers in these positions, and then, okay, well, I'm just going to put my fingers here, and then I'm just going to change up, like, the melody and just do something different. I remember we wrote this song called, I wrote this song called Wheatfield. And that was our first song, was this song called Wheatfield. That was just based off of, like, this E minor with, like, you know, whatever the A sharp thrown in there.
Yeah.
And it was, so it was just like, had this like little minored, like a little, whatever that is, a minored fifth or whatever the hell it is. Like, and it was just like, okay, cool. So I, not knowing how to play guitar, wrote like our first song, and it was like, okay, cool. And so inadvertently, Metallica helped me play guitar and helped me learn how to play guitar. So like, that's how the Black Album like shaped me in that way.
Right.
Like,
that's weird. I mean, I love it because it's, you know, it's not the typical thing where it's just like, oh, I heard that and I just was so blown away and I loved it so much and I just, it's, you know, I listen to it every day still type thing. Plus, I mean, like, I knew clearly that it was like different than what you do, you know, but I'm just like, but, you know, obviously you've had decades since this album came out. So I was wondering, you know, which direction was it going to be? Was it that it was an album that was pivotal to you at that moment as a kid? Or was it just something that hit so hard that you were like, I still refer to that this day? Plus, because you don't seem like a metalhead. Are you a metalhead?
Oh, boy. I do enjoy metal, yeah.
Some metal.
Yeah.
Okay.
But I'm very cautious.
You're picky.
With my metal, yeah. Like I love like I love like Death. Like Chuck is like one of my like favorite like guitarists. Okay. Like rest in peace. Like, I mean, like the dude was like fucking just great. Like everything that dude did, like even in Cynic and stuff like that. Like that stuff is just awesome. Like I love that stuff. I love like Carcass and Napalm Death and stuff like that.
Okay.
I love Godflesh and things like that. But like,
and so now is that more of like a more recent turn on, or was that kind of like that came immediately after Metallica?
I liked some of it, but also I'm not going to say that I like immediately dove into it as a kid as much, because I definitely went more like indie punk as a kid.
Right.
I would probably say I didn't start really absorbing that stuff until like college.
Okay.
So I think like as a kid, like I had blinders on a little bit, and I was just like real committed to certain things. Like it was like, oh, hip hop, like straight hip hop, and then it was like, oh, then straight like punk. And then I still listen to hip hop and everything like that too. But then it was like I'm like a like all in kind of person. So it was like, oh yeah, now I'm all into this, and like I don't have time for it. No, that's cool. That's cool. You listen to metal, but I don't have time for the metal.
Right.
And like I want to do this.
Yeah.
And then like and then like when I would get into a metal phase, and like I was in a band in like the early like around 2010. It was kind of a metal band, and like our guitarist was in like he was in Creationist Crucifixion and Abnegation, which were like early like hardcore influential hardcore bands. And so we had a lot of like metal influences. Our drummer was extremely metal, and so like all I would listen to at that time point was just like metal, just because I was just like, well, let's just absorb a whole bunch of metal, and let's just listen to a whole bunch of metal at that point. And it wasn't obviously it wasn't like Metallica, but actually no, it was. No, we did listen to a lot of Metallica at that point.
Early Metallica?
Yeah, it was all early. I mean,
you went backwards.
I'm not trying to be that guy, but like, yeah, I don't really mess with like Load or anything after that. Like, I think I did try to listen to the new album they put out.
The 72 Seasons?
Is that what it's called? The brand new one?
I believe it's 72 Seasons.
Yeah, I did try to listen to it.
I listened to it too. Actually, when you chose this, I was just like, I should give that new album a try. Let me see. And it's pretty good, I feel.
Is it? I got like 3 songs, and I didn't.
I thought it was actually, it was kind of like a return to form for them.
Okay.
Because like there's no ballads.
Okay.
It's a fucking stupid long record, but there's like it's like all thrash. I mean, for the most part, like there's no ballads, there's no Unforgiven, there's no
I'll give it another listen.
Sad But True.
Yeah.
It was I don't know, it was just like, oh, I'm not hating this.
But do you like Unforgiven?
I mean,
I like Unforgiven.
This album was important for me when at the time too, because I was, about 11 when it came out.
Yeah.
And I was getting into hard music at that time, like Guns N' Roses, Metallica.
Sure.
I guess I had already kind of known a little bit about Led Zeppelin and stuff like that, Aerosmith maybe. So Metallica, this wasn't big for me in the sense that I had to go buy this record. I didn't go buy it, but it was on MTV.
Yeah.
And so now I saw all of these videos. No, that's not true. I did like And Justice for All. My brothers and I, because I have 3 older brothers, so one of them got Iron Maiden and Justice for All. And so I remember listening to Injustice for All pretty religiously when it was out. And then this one came out, so I guess I was kind of excited for this, but I didn't go buy it. I guess I could say in retrospect, I kind of felt like they were a little selloutish.
Yeah.
Because having known Injustice for All and then listening to this one, or at least like hearing the singles off of this one, I was just like, it's not the same.
Oh, it's definitely not. Yeah.
But I mean, it was still had some appeal for sure. I mean, Metallica was Metallica, and they're just cool. Like to a kid that likes rock music, like they're just cool.
Sure.
And I actually really loved Jason Newsted. I thought he was great because I didn't know Cliff Burton. I didn't know about the previous records. I started at Justice for All.
Same.
So I just thought he was like the coolest, like handsome looking, just rad bass player. Yeah. So I don't know. I guess I really did like this record.
Did you have the undercut?
The
like
what?
the Newsted like undercut.
Oh yeah,
like
I
the
loved
shape.
it.
Yeah, I
so
did too.
Cool.
Yeah. Yeah, there was a point where I did too. Yeah, and like I don't know if it was because of Newsted necessarily, but like that's the first thing I think of.
Yeah,
it's like the undercut. Sorry,
sure.
I didn't cut you off.
No, it's all right. I mean, they were just a cool band. Everything about them just screamed to me like epitome of cool. Yeah. I kind of I have to say though, I was same with you because shortly after grunge broke. And that was what I got into. I definitely got into Nirvana, definitely got into Pearl Jam and so forth, and just kind of went down that rabbit hole, leading into noise rock, I guess. Yeah. So let's go back into your history a little bit. So now you said you weren't playing guitar at that time, but you started to you tried to start a band. So when did you officially, or kind of when do you feel like you really started to learn, or did you take any lessons?
No, there was right around... I forget if it was 8th or 9th grade, so it would have been like a year or two after that we had this teacher in our school, in our what would it have been, junior high school, who was she played guitar. She was like this old told her like, I don't know, like hippie-ish kind of like, I don't know,
a little
like
folky,
free spirit. Yeah, folky. Yeah, she was. I mean, she was awesome. Like looking back, like she was a gift to have. I don't know if I appreciated her as much at the time, probably as I should have, or I don't know if any of us really did.
Sure.
I think she passed. I hope that's not true.
What was her name?
Mrs. Popovich.
Mrs. Popovich.
I think that was her name. Yeah, she was awesome.
Props to Mrs. Popovich.
Heck yeah, yeah. I also hope that was her name. I'm pretty positive that was her name. I'm picturing her right now, so I'm really hoping that was her name. I'm pretty positive that was
all
her.
Right.
She rolled. But she started a guitar class because she noticed that there was a whole bunch of like metalheads and like Votecker kids that like, you know, had jean jackets with like their like, Zeppelin patches and like Creator patches and things like that. And it was just like, she was like, she like had approached the principal and was like, I should start up like a extracurricular like guitar class that was like teaching kids how to play guitar.
Yeah.
As opposed to just like, you know, a music class or anything like that. And so it was super cool because it was, a lot of the kids knew how to play like really well, that already like had guitars, and I'm saying very well, but like, yeah, they could play like Fade to Black perfectly or whatever. Sure. And it was like, oh my God, this guy knows how to play. And like, you know, other kids, yeah, were like they could play like, you know, any like, you know, Dave Mustaine solo, and it was like, God. Yeah. And then like I had never picked up an acoustic before in my life, and it was all on acoustic though, so it was all like learning how to play like, you know, like open chords basically, or like, you know, anything standard. But so that was kind of like where I like first like learned how to play guitar, you know. And I'm like picking up the guitar, and I guess to bring back the Black Album, I'm like, you know, hitting all the open strings and playing Nothing Else Matters and being like, I mean,
yeah, I got it,
guys. Like, we starting a band, right? I'm in. So it was humbling to be like, you know, amongst these people, but at the same time I didn't really care because I didn't want to play like that. Like I never had any, like I've never liked shredding guitar.
Right.
I've always found it to be kind of like obnoxious.
Yeah.
I like kind of like listening to it, but I love Megadeth.
Okay.
And like, but I also get really turned off by it at a point. Like where I'm just like, oh, God, you reach
like a point where you're like, okay, I've had enough.
Like, yeah, this is the 5th solo in this song. That's cool. Like, and like, Marty has his, and now Dave has his, and then Marty has his, and then Dave needed another, of course, because Dave needed 3 and Marty hadn't yet 2.
I'm not big on solos.
Yeah.
In general, like even still, like it's just like, you know, being in a band now and like trying to write music, and then like, you know, it's just like, yeah, I'm gonna rip a solo right here. It's like, you don't have to. You really don't have to.
Yeah, it's just gratuitous, and it's like, I mean. I'd like to trace the history of like, I guess when that came about. I mean, it was probably an orchestra and like, or some kind of like concerto or something where it was like, okay, everyone needs a break here, and so it's time for the timpani to go off and you know, do something or have the
and every instrument got its opportunity.
The first seat violinist to have their moment. I guess.
I mean, I guess that's something that kind of like carried over. I mean, I never really thought about it, but yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah. But
well, let me see. So you're learning guitar in high school with Miss Popovich.
Yeah.
Where did you grow up? Pittsburgh?
Yeah. We grew up outside of Pittsburgh. Yeah. Okay.
And so what was music in the house like?
Sorry, I was reading the mic. That shows exactly what it was like. My parents weren't very into music. My brother he became into music, but early on he's younger by 3 years, but he would you know, as a younger brother will, he would kind of follow suit with everything that I was into. So and as a younger brother, he got a lot of things that the older brother didn't. So he, you know, at an early age, he was, when I was into hip hop, it was, I want a keyboard, because, you know, he could turn on a keyboard and.
Right. Use kind of like drum pads.
Yeah. And then that's suddenly, you know, he was able to make beats on a keyboard and just, or to have a beat there. And like, but I always wanted the keyboard, but you know, so he got the keyboard. But it was contingent on him taking keyboard lessons, I think piano lessons. So he learned piano at a younger age. which was advantageous for him down the road. But then with guitar, same thing. He got a guitar before I did at a young age, and I coincidentally I actually remember the first song I ever picked up and thought I learned on guitar was, I remember picking up his guitar, and so this is fast forwarding a few years. This is to like whatever 93ish or whatever. I remember picking up his guitar one year and going upstairs and just on a whim being like, I forget which live Nirvana video, whether it was live on blah, 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 on MTV. It was like, but I was like, oh, I think I figured this out. And I ran upstairs and I was like, I know how to play All Apologies now. And I went upstairs because I never had the Guitar World magazines or any of those for the tablatures, and I don't know how to read music, and I still don't. And but so I went upstairs and I was like, I think I know how to play this, and I didn't realize the song was in drop D at that point, and I'm just playing it in standard tuning on this little, like, you know, $60 guitar that my parents bought him. The strings are like, you know, an inch off of the fretboard, and you know, I'm trying to like fight down like where I don't know how to really do anything, but I'm just like, hey, the fingers were about here, and I'm like trying to, like, you know, strum and play thing, and I'm like, I got it, I think I got it, I know how to do this. And it was horrible. It was not even close.
It was not it.
Yeah, it was. I think I was ready to go on tour.
That's hilarious.
But yeah, so it was really bad, and I don't know why I ever picked up a guitar again or had any ambition to. But I ended up buying. I ended up saving up money that I made at the grocery store, and I bought a guitar. It was a Crestline guitar. It was like a Les Paul generic.
Yeah.
And a Gorilla amp off of my buddy's older brother, who like played varsity baseball, who, you know, has no reason ever having a guitar and an amp because he had no desire. I don't know why dude ever had an amp. Yeah, but bought his guitar and amp for, I think it was like, you know, like $150 total or something like that, and you know, that's when I started playing guitar at that point.
Yeah. How old were you then?
I don't even know. So I'm guessing like 14, 15.
Okay. And so you never looked back. You kind of always been in bands since then.
Kind of. That's when I kind of started up like a punk band around then. It was like more like, I think at that point it was probably like pop punk at that point.
Oh, okay. It
was probably like Screeching Weasel-ish at that point when I started playing guitar. It was after Green Day, but like all my friends prior to that were real into like Screeching Weasel and Pink Lincolns,
Bouncing Souls, maybe something like that.
They were kind of into Bouncing Souls though. There were certain bands in that though that I couldn't do. Like, couldn't do Bouncing Souls, couldn't do Social Distortion.
Yeah. I never got big into that either.
Yeah, there was something about it. I just couldn't those ones. But then I got into like, at that point I was into like Sebado.
Oh, okay.
And stuff like that. And then that's what drew the line between me and my friends with that, because I started getting into like, I was like, well, I mean, you know, I guess it's cool writing songs about like, you know, farting on pillows and, you know, whatever kind of things, like, you know, forgetting to do your homework and whatever. But like, I also really like, you know, thinking. Yeah,
sure. I mean, that definitely Sebado and everything in that vein is definitely more of a thinking man's emo punk thing.
I think that was the main thing. Yeah. So I was like, yeah, like I'm cool with being in touch with my emotions.
It also seems kind of easier. Like if you felt like you were challenged at trying to learn how to play an instrument basically by yourself without lessons, that kind of seems like that's more doable. Yeah. There's like a lot more just kind of like notey stuff. There's just kind of like, there's a lot more space in between notes and chords. It's just a lot more noise in general. So obviously that leads into kind of getting into a noise rock band.
Yeah.
Feedback is a wonderful thing.
Yeah.
You know, so you don't really have to do anything. You just kind of have to wave your guitar around.
Yeah. I remember, I think it was the first time I saw Sonic Youth, which was probably around 94. Yeah. Just kind of being destroyed by just the ability to just not do anything and just have it be. And it was like literally, like, I remember like a few years ago, my wife was like describing to me what, like, she was like, oh yeah, I've heard of this thing called a sound bath. And I was like, and I remember in my head just thinking like, oh, I experienced that in like '94 with Sonic Youth. Like I know exactly what you're talking about. Like, like, you know, before you even go into like what a Zen description of this thing called a sound bath is, like,
Okay.
I think I experienced that already. Like this like oral attack of like, you know, what that is with Sonic Youth. Like it was just like being just like washed away just by like just drenched in just this guitar feedback. I think that was maybe right around Washing Machine-ish. I don't know. I don't remember. I'm not sure.
Oh, okay.
Somewhere around there. But it was, I don't remember.
Okay.
But,
well, that's cool.
But yeah,
makes
so
sense.
it was kind of just that point of just being having a relationship with music. In that emotional sense, kind of, which I felt like is what, like, you know, Sebadoh had started to do for me. Bake Sale was actually another album I had debated about talking to you about.
Oh, okay.
Because I was like, God, I could talk about Bake Sale for hours.
That would have been cool.
Yeah.
Either way, I mean, like, that's the thing is, like, you could choose any record and it would be cool.
But I also am like so much into tangents and just like,
sure,
I'm like just staying focused at this point is just like, I prefer tangents.
Yeah.
So.
All right. One question before we get into some of the songs here. Have you ever seen Metallica?
I have.
When?
I saw Metallica on the tour. I want to say it was probably about 94, 3, 4.
Okay, so not too long. It might have even been on this fucking tour cycle.
It probably was on. No, it wasn't that tour cycle, because I believe on that tour cycle they toured with Guns N' Roses.
I mean, they were out for like 2.5 years.
So
like,
if it was, then it was on the tail end of that, because I remember when they came through Pittsburgh on that tour cycle, I believe they played at Mellon Arena with Guns N' Roses, and I ended up seeing them at Star Lake Amphitheater, where they was supposed to be with Alice in Chains, and Alice in Chains had to cancel because I think Lane had some problems at the time. Okay. And I remember, I think it was whatever Rob Halford's side project was. I remember, can't remember, it was called Down. Was it? Okay. Was that a name of one of his projects?
I'm not familiar.
I don't like Rob Halford, so it was not of interest then, and it still isn't. But one of his side projects that was like that had a moment. Was the fill-in opener at an amphitheater. And so it was whatever around that time was. I just remember I went with 2 of my bandmates at the time, and my cousin took us, and we got like we just sat on the roof of the van, and before we went in, and I had brought, this was back when I think I was like 15, because we weren't old enough to drive, so that's how I remember that it was around then. So it was probably 15ish. Okay. But we sat on the roof, and we also had Pepsi Big Slams, if you remember those. Sure. Which were like, we were talking about those earlier, actually, coincidentally. But I can't remember. I think it was like 32 ounces maybe of Pepsi. Okay. And I had dumped it out the Pepsi, and that's when this was during a phase of my life, and I had filled it up with gasoline, and that's when I was a gas huffer, and I sat and I huffed on the roof of the van, and we got like messed up ahead of time, and my cousin didn't know. I think she found out like afterwards.
He couldn't smell it.
How can't you smell it? That's exactly the catch. So, and then we got like, you know, fucked up, and we went in and saw Metallica, and they were awesome. They were awesome. I remember them being really
liked
awesome.
It?
I did. Yeah. Okay. They were fantastic, and but at the same time, like I don't think it was the unleaded running through my brain. Yeah. You know, I think it was a pretty good show from what I remember.
I mean, supposedly they're one of the best live acts ever. I've never seen them play.
Okay.
No, I've never seen them
play.
Would
you consider seeing them at this point? And would you call it Metallica?
Yeah, I would call it Metallica. I wouldn't want to see them just because I don't like big shows. Okay. I really don't like big shows.
I'm with you on that.
Yeah, it just makes me feel uncomfortable. Like, there's no, like, even if I could afford being in the front, I don't think I would want to be there. Yeah. Because I would just feel way too overwhelmed. There's way too many people around me. Like, I like being
That's what
in
I was gonna I was gonna say, is it the intimacy or is it the performance itself?
No, I mean, if they would play a club, I would go to a club and see them. Absolutely. But I don't like those big venues. Like, I really don't. Like, I don't like the traffic. I don't like the congestion. I don't like being around that many people. Like, and of course, there's a lot of factors, like with people just being stupid. Like, you're just opening up the ratio to like the number of like really kind of brain dead maniacs to like, hey, just kind of normal civil people, because I just like to hang out. I don't want to get into a pit. I don't want to, like,
Yeah.
I have no desire for it, really.
Yeah.
So I just want to hang back and enjoy the show.
No, I feel you on that.
I'm an old man now.
I'm the same way, but I also feel like I'm running into that same thing at smaller shows where like you get the small intimate venue and then you're like, oh, I don't want to get kicked. I'm gonna go stand over here. Gosh, I'm still gonna get kicked.
I'm getting an elbow.
Yeah,
for sure.
I'm like, or I don't. Yeah, I even find it with like on going on tours now where like we have to with the venues and stuff and having to seriously ask venues and be like, I'm sorry, is there smoking in here at the venues?
Yeah, I
like,
was gonna ask you about that.
I ran into a few venues last tour.
Yeah,
where I had to ask at the venue. We actually had to cancel last minute at a few spots down south.
Oh man,
and it was.
It's so weird that they don't make the exception be like.
I mean, in Pittsburgh, there's a few bars that are complete bullshit. That there's a loophole, and in Pennsylvania, you need to fix that. It's stupid.
It just doesn't make any sense. It's just like why.
It's either do it or don't.
Yeah, I mean, like I remember when that law took effect around here, and I mean, at the time I was working in a movie theater, totally could smoke everywhere, and I used to smoke. Yeah. So I remember kind of being against it at first, thinking like, oh, now I can't even smoke in the place I work. That sucks. But then like, I've since quit, but either way, it was just like I didn't miss it at all. Like the idea of going outside. The only time it sucked was winter. Because then it's just like, oh, I got to go outside to smoke. I'm not smoking. Fuck that. Yeah. Like that was the one drawback for a smoker. Yeah. Aside from that, I mean, I haven't missed it at all. I mean, it's been great. I love it. Like not like going to places and not having smoke inside of, especially like small clubs with like shows going on. It's just like, it would get so smoky like so quickly when people could smoke inside. It was just ridiculous.
Yeah. I feel like it's just like almost the equivalent of like being like, oh, I like just saying like fuck all the time or whatever, and then being like, oh, there's a like a little 2-year-old right there or something like that, and like
you can't stop yourself for a little while.
Maybe I decide it's not a good idea to say it right here,
right?
So I'm just not gonna say it right now.
I'm just gonna exercise my right to say fuck just because I can.
It's like could I? Yeah, it's like okay, I'm just gonna use better judgment and be like, okay, this is okay if I don't do this right now, and later when I want to say fuck, I'm gonna go say fuck.
Sure.
On my own.
Right.
Yeah,
I'll say fuck on my own time.
Yeah.
All right. Well, so let's get into this record a little bit. So obviously you're not clearly a huge fan of it. No. Okay.
Not really. It's fine. I mean, it's a fine record.
Well, at the time. So I mean, maybe we'll think about it like keep yourself in the mindset of being a 12-year-old.
Yes.
And like what this record was like for you at the time. And did you like own the record at any point?
That's a really good question. I actually want to say I didn't.
So maybe you only knew the singles.
I mean, I've streamed the record. Put it that way. Since I know I've listened to the record
but not necessarily when you were 12.
Cool. I'm wondering if I ever had it on cassette. I don't know.
Or maybe like a friend, if you hung out with a friend that had it.
I know I've heard it. I don't think I 100% don't think I've ever purchased the record.
Yeah, I haven't either, which is odd considering how many copies it sells.
Yes.
Still, to this day.
Yeah.
It's still selling like 1 million copies a year.
That's crazy. That's so crazy.
On average. I don't know the exact number, but it's around that. It's fucking insane. It's it's one of the diamond records. It's one of the top 5 best-selling records in the world.
That's so insane.
So it's up there with Pink Floyd's Dark Side of the Moon. And of the
Thriller or something? Like what else is on there?
Like, so that's the other thing. Yeah, well, Michael Jackson, I think that's still in there. I think it's still, I mean, so Thriller got knocked out by the Eagles' Greatest Hits, right? So that's the other thing too, is this like, I'm forgetting the exact figure, but of the top 5 best-selling records of all time, 2 are Greatest Hits compilations. So this being one actual like record by a band. And
the Eagles are the one, and
I believe Eagles are in first place right now.
What's the other compilation?
Oh fuck!
I feel like it's an obvious one too. It's gonna be.
Yeah, it probably is super obvious. I don't know. I didn't look into it.
Let's go with Maroon 5.
No, fuck them.
Good on you, Maroon 5.
I'm not sure, but I'll have to look into it. But it really wasn't important. All I know is that this album is obviously one of the 5.
That's wild.
Yeah,
I wouldn't have guessed that. Like if I was on Family Feud, I would have.
Yeah,
and there were still 2 up there, and we were struggling.
Be like, yeah.
I would not have. Yeah.
I want to say it's Fleetwood Mac. Rumors is probably one.
Huh.
I want to say that's one because that thing sells like fucking stupid.
I also wouldn't have guessed that.
That one is a crazy record. Yeah, I would assume that one. Michael Jackson Thriller for sure, probably. It's gotta be a Beatles record.
Like that's kind of what I was thinking. Which one like sells the best? I don't know. Is it the White Album?
I don't know. I'm not sure which one sells the best.
Like, cause that's I don't know. Like when you are like we have with Beatles fans and like Rolling Stones fans. Like I don't know. Like if there is like a concise number one. Like
plus,
like, I know people like argue Beatles versus Rolling Stones,
well,
but like
think about this too. It's not fair because time wise, this album's only been out since '91. You know, every Beatles record has been at the latest, like the last record was released in like 78, 79 maybe.
Something.
So, you know, it's like it almost seems like it pales in comparison because if this record could have sold, what is it, like the 50 million? No, not 50 million. I think it's like 25 million? 30 million. It's something ridiculous like that. But so, I mean, it's only had 30 something years to kind of accumulate that many sales.
Yeah.
And you know, comparison to, let's just say Dark Side of the Moon. I know that's one of them. Who it's been selling since 72, 77 maybe?
Yeah.
At the latest. I don't remember when Dark Side of the Moon came out, but it had to be in the 70s. So it's like that had 20 extra years to sell.
Sure.
So I don't know.
Well, that was the other thing because that's what my brain was going to like. I was like, oh, well, what about like Taylor Swift or Beyonce or something? But I was like, oh, but they don't have the track record yet.
They'll get there eventually,
maybe.
There. Yeah. But yeah, they don't have the ability. But plus, record sales kind of suck these days in general. I mean, like, yeah, they still sell records, but I mean, how many physical copies are they selling? Like, I don't know if like even digital sales kind of.
I don't know how that affects.
Yeah. It's weird. It's a weird business now. So I never had this record, and so I actually never listened to this album in its entirety until just recently.
Okay.
So some of these songs were new to me. I was just
there's some sweet ones on there.
There are, yeah. I mean, like, you know, for Metallica, you know, not being a metalhead, not being a massive Metallica fan, I was just like, oh, there actually are some decent record songs on here, but there's also some really shitty ones.
Since it's fresh, can I jump to one? Can I ask you about one since you listened to it recently?
Sure.
And since it's not super fresh in my brain.
Yeah.
Is this is the album with the
No.
That's not this?
What song is that?
I don't know. There's some song. I think it's like.
I don't think it's.
Read off the songs.
Well, it starts off with Enter Sandman.
No. It's like later. It's like. I think it's this album. It's like.
Of Wolf and Man. The God That Failed.
Might be one. It's one of those later ones.
My Friend of Misery.
There's like seriously a song on it where like they do like that stupid thing I just did.
I mean, it sounds vaguely familiar, but I can't think of it.
I'm seriously. I think it's this album, man.
All right, well, we'll get to it, and then you know what? I'll even play it I'll start off the songs just so we can kind of get a feel for them.
We can go through in any order, and then we can just lose our shit when it happens, because it's.
Let me see.
Just go in order.
Let's start with Enter Sandman. All right, so Enter Sandman. All right, we know this song. No big deal. Enter Sandman.
Great
whatever.
Song.
Great song.
You can just picture the truck coming down from the video, getting ready to burst.
Yeah, right. That video was very impactful, I think, on a young kid.
That was a big video.
Yeah. So let's see. So what I have for Enter Sandman says Hetfield says he was listening to Fear a lot at the time of writing Enter Sandman. He took inspiration from the song We Destroy the Family, and initially started writing about crib death.
Okay.
That's the lyrics to this song originally started as him writing about crib death, which, you know, is SIDS, sudden infant death syndrome.
Yeah.
So that's kind of weird. Obviously, Bob Rock, the producer, and Lars Ulrich made the suggestion to James to rethink his lyrical choice. Obviously going for a better, more universal theme. Still revolving around scary themes, particularly around the young. Now, your new album, How I Became the Devil, sounds and looks a little scary. Can you tell me about something that scares you?
The album's inspired by Metallica's. And my bassist and our producer told me to change the content. Something that scares me. Well, I think about death a lot, and then one thing that scares me is I have this like weird delusion that like I've never admitted this out loud before. I'm just gonna say this out loud because I've never said it before, and it sounds preposterous. But I have this delusion that my wife isn't real.
Yeah. Is she AI?
No, just that she doesn't exist, and that I made her up.
Okay. Can I visit your house and maybe tell you what?
Yeah, like I don't know, like we talk about like weird like not we like the band, like we were talking the other day about like just post death and like ideas that like when you die, like you know you just your consciousness gets transported into like another like reality that's the same as the current reality, and it just like one thing is shifted like slightly, but it's just you keep going on, and you're like the hero, you're like the god of your own existence, and the same thing happens for everybody, and we are all our own god, like you know, existence and whatever. It's like some I forget what it's called, it's like some theory, and so but ultimately, and it sounds great because you just never die, but it's also you're the lone survivor of your own like you know like
existence,
nuclear exhaustion, where at the end you're the last person standing, and you're like
weird,
like you just like wither away on your own, like but you never wither away.
Right.
So but anyways, but going back to that, like I have this weird thing where like I'm like I don't think like sometimes like I'll be sitting there like if I'm in the shower or something, and I'll be like I don't know if my wife is real, like that, like she's there, right? like I'm not like in this house by myself, like I'm not here by accident, right? Like
I mean, you can kind of say that about everything, right?
Yeah, but I just have this fear just with her sometimes.
Yeah. Does she know this?
No, I've never told her before either.
She does now.
Yeah. But yeah, so I it's just something like I've like just had this odd like fear of just that like that it didn't happen or something, like yeah, we never got married, we never met, we never like I imagined this all.
Yeah, you're kind of living like a Jacob's ladder, right?
Yeah, like it's just like some major like just delusion that like none of it existed, and like everything else, but like I'm not delusional about anything else. Everything else in my life is perfectly straight, and that's the only thing that I'm so delusional about.
Okay. I mean, I question that too. I mean, not specifically about my wife, and I'm pretty sure you met her. Just now, right? Okay.
Yeah.
But
I like what you did.
But I mean, like everything in general. I mean, like kind of similar to what you're saying is this like my theory of life is that you know that what you're seeing, right? Mm-hmm. But you're the only one that knows this perspective.
Yeah.
You're the only one that can see through your eyes and sees what you see.
Yes.
Even though like you know people, you speak with people, you share your ideas, you share your thoughts, whatever. You have experiences, but even so much so that like everything that we experience, everything that we learn, everything that we read, everything that we hear, just the language that we speak, essentially I created it myself. And I'm living in this weird realm where all of this stuff is fabricated by me. Now that sounds ridiculous to a person that might be listening to this. That's just like, this guy's tapped. But I mean, that's because essentially that's all we have. We only have our own perspective on things.
Yeah, like you wrote the definition. Yeah, like
pretty much
based on your own perspective.
Right. Because like what is language? What is like what is numbers? Why do numbers work? Yeah. Like all of this stuff kind of had to come from somewhere. A human had to create these things, right? So essentially nothing is perfect. Everything can kind of be an interpretation of itself. And frankly, I think that like I'm going to end up on my deathbed and everything that I've done up until that point, whenever that happens, will have already happened. I'm essentially like kind of like flipping through the memory of my life leading up to my death. Mm-hmm. Because it's kind of like what people say about like, you know, you had a near-death experience, and so you have your life flashes before your eyes. So my life is essentially flashing before my eyes in real time.
Yeah, like this is it.
Yeah.
Yeah,
like it's already happened. I'm already done. Like every like that. Like I have no
because what's time? Like how do you know that this isn't the flash?
Right.
Yeah.
I mean, because like if you think about your memories, if you think about think about your past right now, and think about how quickly it seems like it's passed. You know, like that was all just like a blink of the eye, and now you're here. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And in like 2 seconds you're going to be in a different state.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's wild. I mean, I don't know. That's definitely
it's-
some weird shit to kind of get fucking lost in for a while. But we're not going to do that because that's a little too much information. But so of these things of this thing that scares you that you're sharing with me, does that or does like did that or does that have any effect on what you created with your new record? Like, because it's a scary theme. I mean, the new record being How I Became the Devil. Like the imagery, like, you know, I mean, it seems like kind of like horror influenced.
Yeah, it's dark, but it's about like communication. It's dark actually because our label rejected our initial art.
Really?
Yeah. Our initial art was actually extremely like bubbly, and it was like this painting that was like bright pink, and it was very childish. And
it was like in contrast to your music.
I'm not going to say he rejected it. I'm going to say he encouraged me to rethink it.
Mm-hmm.
He was right.
Kind of
and
like
I'm totally with him. But he was just like, why are you doing this? Like,
right.
Like, he was just like, he's like, I don't know if this is a good idea. Like, you know,
because musically,
like,
I mean, the music's great, and he likes your record. I mean, I've heard him speak about your record and say that it's one of his favorite records, right?
I'd like to think he enjoys it.
Well, yeah.
Yeah.
I mean,
But yeah, you know, I would like to hope that people we work with enjoy what we do.
right. But
yeah.
so he didn't want
So
you to kind of like
think
make
he
that contrast
didn't want-
between what
yeah.
the musical content is like, and then the imagery that's kind of connected to it.
Yeah, and so like we talked about like you know what the album was, and I was kind of trying to explain that it did have this sort of infantile connection to to my youth, and so I wanted to exemplify that in the artwork and blah blah blah. And but then we discussed the darkness also in the album, and so we also thought it would still be on theme, just to stick with a black and white theme, which is kind of what the band is, a lot more of a black and white band.
Yeah.
So I just decided that the thumbprint running over with the eyes, which are, excuse me, basically just taken from our 7-inch.
Yeah, I was gonna say, so that was
It's
the
just
same
a
thing.
continuous theme.
It's kind of the opposite image of the single you put out.
Yeah.
Okay.
And it's just like, you know, a fingerprint kind of, you know, just to continue a play on identity. So, yeah, but it's kind of just how, you know, just an idea on how we all, it's also, I was going to say it's just a reference on how we all decide on, like, you know, whether we're good or bad people. I feel like, you know, a lot of people justify people as like, oh, no, but he's a good guy. Or like, oh, she's okay. She's good.
How well do you really know that person?
And like, yeah, and we also just justify it for the stupidest reasons, or simply just because someone's adjacent to us, in some degree. And I think there's a lot of flaw in that, and I think we let a lot of people slide.
Okay.
And including ourselves. And so I think it was a way for me to look, I guess, within.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
That sounds great, man. So the next song is Sad But True, but I'm going to skip that song.
Yeah.
I didn't really find anything about it that seemed pertinent, and even trying to understand the song itself, it really didn't do anything for me.
Also a single, but
yeah.
I do think that riff is pretty good.
It's a good song. I mean, I'm not knocking the song. I mean, the only thing I found out about this song, which kind of kept on coming up in all the research I was doing, was that originally it was written in E. And
interesting.
Bob Rock, at Bob Rock's suggestion as the producer, he kind of like heard the first 6 songs that they were bringing in, and was just like, all of these songs are in E. And to which their rebuttal was just like, well, E's the lowest note.
Mm-hmm.
And he's just like, well, you could just tune your instruments down to D, and then it would be lower. So that's what they did. So this song is now in D.
Okay.
And that's so it kind of has developed that really deep, sludgy feel to it, and like a really deep groove. So that's the only thing about that song, really. So then the song after that would be Holier Than Thou.
Okay.
Which this is cool because this is kind of like...
I do. I can't remember this one.
Yeah.
It's a little more rockin', right?
This one is definitely kind of more akin to older Metallica.
Yeah.
It's definitely more of like a thrash song.
Okay.
Oddly enough, this song, Bob Rock was originally considering they were going to use as their first single.
Really?
Yeah. He wanted them to use this song as their first single.
Well,
he was wrong.
Yeah, he would have been real wrong, I think.
Yeah, and the band agrees. They bust his balls to this day.
Yeah,
like, holier than thou, huh?
Yeah, I'm down with that song, but yeah, like, yeah.
It probably wouldn't have gone over as well.
Yeah.
So now, it was originally considered for the first single. Not much to interpret here, really. I mean, lyrically, I don't know if you can remember anything about the song.
James Hetfield lyrics have always been dog shit to me.
They're
personally.
not.
I mean, like,
well, he goes out on a limb on this record, but I mean, as far as interpretation, as far as like what he's saying, this song specifically is not impressive.
Yeah.
Like, just the title alone, "Holier Than Thou." I mean, it definitely puts something in your mind as to like what to expect this song is going to be.
Yeah.
You know, so to which seems very likely to be a very confrontational song against the speaker and someone who seems a bit high and mighty, right?
Okay.
So referring back to your latest album, I can't help but to think that you might have a little bit of a chip, like. I mean, like, because it seems like you have like this lack of faith in humanity based on like the content of your album, the titles and the album name and so forth. Is that true or?
Sure. Like I said, though, like a lot of it is a look internally. Mm-hmm. So it is. I'm trying to go through. I'm trying to just think about it. Some of it is intended to get others to think, of course, because that's like growing up on like punk rock and everything is like, you know, to get people to think. But it's also very but I like lyrics that are more oblique and like, you know, it's gonna make you think for yourself a little bit.
Sure.
So I guess I could say it's like one of those like, what does it mean to you kind of thing. Yeah, but like, you know, like, you know, there's a few songs on here that have very, very, very specific meaning. And then there's a few that are intended to be like interpretive. Mm-hmm. But that's just like some of my favorite lyricists, I feel like are that way.
Do you print your lyrics in your record?
But the lyrics are in the record.
Okay, because I didn't have any access to them as of yet.
Okay.
So because it's not really.
It's hard to decipher.
Yeah, you can't really make out what you're saying in the songs and the recordings.
Yeah.
But I mean, just based on like the imagery and the titles, I'm just like, okay, I can kind of get an idea of what this might be going, and it kind of felt like that. Like not saying you're holier than thou in any sense, but just the chip being like there's a problem with like you have a problem with somebody, or sometimes if people are problematic, like this is what you're kind of trying to address, maybe.
Yeah, most of it though, most of those parts are probably the self-referential parts.
Okay.
And the character that is probably myself at that point. Most of it's written like about either, and most of it's an attack on self for the most part.
Sure.
So it's like there's a few songs that deal with like loss. Like there's a song that I guess the only song that would be an attack on others, like Egg, is definitely a very it's a pro-woman song. It's very like an attack on like, you know, like asshole male culture.
Sure.
So that one would definitely be aggressively you know, fuck you to
that one's more confrontational.
That type of person, yeah. And
sure.
that's but also from song titles, you're not going to get it necessarily from that one. But yeah, most of the other ones are very self-reflective and me basically like, you know, yelling at myself.
Yeah,
I would say.
Yeah. Okay. I mean, that's totally understandable, reasonable. Yeah. I mean, I think that's what most people probably do.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, let's keep on moving. So The Unforgiven is next. We all know this song. One of the most compelling aspects of this album is James Hetfield's vocals.
The singing?
The singing style, not necessarily lyrics, but so he's taken a new approach and delivery on this album, much in part due to Bob Rock's production. Essentially, he actually listened to a Chris Isaak song, and he approached Bob Rock about it and said, "I really like the way he sings. Like,
is this true?
This is true. He took inspiration from Chris Isaak to be like, I want to sound like that when I sing."
That's why you got the haircut too.
Oh, eventually, yeah. But
it's like, I want to look like. He went to the barber and he's like, he took a picture of Chris Isaak. He's like, I want to look like this.
Yeah, man, he wants to look slick. But no, I mean, so seriously, I mean, so because recording wise, I guess he used to always double his vocals on the previous records, and so that was just to kind of make them bigger and beefier, and he didn't have to rely on his voice as his instrument. But so in this album, he actually does a single track for his vocals, and Bob Rock just kind of like got the levels correct, like he kind of like got the sound to be good enough so that his vocal could actually shine through and he wouldn't have to double it. I know that your new album is your debut full-length album, but what can you say you've learned about vocals?
Oh, I've learned I've been doing them wrong.
Yeah?
For like my entire life. Yeah. So I had to see a speech. Can't even say it. That's why I have to see them. A speech pathologist.
Okay.
Because apparently without going into detail, I have a lung condition, and I have to see a speech pathologist now because I speak incorrectly. Apparently, I exert even too much oxygen as I speak.
Oh.
I'm not like speaking correctly from my diaphragm.
Right.
So obviously, when I do that, I sing the same way, and so I'm definitely exerting too much oxygen when I sing. And I'm projecting too much. And so when I do like loud, aggressive vocals, I'm doing that to the nth and exerting way too much, and I blow my voice out very easily.
Okay.
And so I've been trying to learn how to do that correctly. Because with the studio, even like it's interesting to do that. Fortunately, with the studios that we've used, I've been able to do vocals at home and send that to our engineer.
Oh, that's weird. So you don't even have to put yourself in that situation where you have to do it in front of anyone.
I don't have to. No, I don't have a problem doing it though, because
right.
I don't have that. Like I guess with old bands, I've always done it in person, but
right
now I can do it all at home, and our vocals are typically so buried and washed with in the mix that we can just be like, oh yeah, like you can just run it through your preamp and blah blah blah, and it sounds good enough.
Right. Okay.
Yeah.
Wow,
So
cool, man. Well, so I mean, so what do you think you might do different maybe for the next record if you had to, or if you wanted to?
We're probably gonna change up some of the interlude stuff. We also we have a new drummer now, so I think we're gonna approach like some of the rhythm stuff like with a different approach. I think we're gonna stylistically, I mean, we'll still be the same, but we'll still be bringing the same thing. But I think we're gonna bring it like probably a little bit different, like with our like the interlude idea, because we still want to, like, a lot of noise rock is just like feedback and wailing and loud guitars, and like I think we've been trying to bring some more noise. Like I used to play in like a lot of like improv, like minimalist composition stuff, like in the early aughts.
Yeah.
Is that what they're called, aughts?
Yeah.
Is that what they call
That's
them?
what some people say. I don't know. You say it.
I don't usually verbalize that word, and I've seen it written, and I'm like, wow, I just said that word out loud, and that felt really weird.
It is weird.
So the early 2000s, I played in like this, like minimalist improv band, and so like I think we've been trying to like incorporate like a little bit more of that for the for our like noisier elements. So it's almost like showing more restraint.
Yeah.
I guess with the noise element, just trying to really like dial it back as opposed to
find some more melody, maybe something like that.
Not necessarily melody. I would just say just doing less. Like one of my favorite bands of all time was like Low.
Okay.
And I just remember whenever I was into that stuff, I think it was I mean, I said Low, but I was gonna reference Codeine, but same era, but that kind of band. And I think I was one time in an interview where their drummer mentioned talking about like people like laughed at them and were like, it's so easy to play slow like that, and they were like, you try playing, it's easy to play fast, like you can go faster, like you try to play that slow,
right?
And so I'm not saying we're going to go slower, but it's just the idea of restraint, and I think it adds a different dynamic sometimes just to do less.
Right.
Yeah, because one of my biggest influences all time is always going to be The Shining, the movie, just because the way it's shot is just always influences me.
Yeah. Space and time are huge.
And that just always draws on me, and I feel like there's so many ways to interpret it from that movie, and it just gets me. And so it's like I had just watched it a few maybe a month ago or something like that, and it just like hit me again with just like ideas just for like, oh, and now this time we need, like, here's how we do it for so we've been writing and we've been working on some stuff for the next album. Yeah.
Cool, man. Looking forward to it.
Cool.
Moving on to the next song, Wherever I May Roam.
Okay, yeah. That was another hit, right?
Another big single. Yeah, another big single.
Yeah.
Maybe one of the best odes to the road ever committed to tape. Seriously, I mean, it's a road song.
I feel like there's so many road songs though, but at the same time, I'm like completely blanking.
Well, so I mean, actually, it kept on. Well, there's that one, yeah. Willie Nelson's great. I was thinking about it when I was like doing the research and thinking about this song being a road song. They kind of famously covered Bob Seger on their covers album.
Okay, that was a single too, right?
Yeah, it was a single, but I mean, it was a cover of a Bob Seger song.
Yeah, but I'm saying that was a hit. Like I think heard so. That. It wasn't like
absolutely,
buried B-side or something.
I mean, you would know the Bob Seger song in addition to you would know the Metallica cover of it. Yeah. But this is their own song, and so it's a road song. So it's like, what do you feel is the greatest part of being a road band?
Oh boy, going home. What I feel like the greatest part of being a road band.
I always felt like when the tour was ending, it was just like, let's just go back out, guys. Let's just turn around. Let's keep on going.
Not when you're old. I guess when you meet good people, like I feel like when you strike out with like meeting good people, it's just like it just makes it so much worse. Yeah. And just like when you can't actually make a connection with someone, like I don't know, like to me, there's nothing worse than going somewhere and having someone like ask you like, just like, so how's Torben and how blah blah blah. Like I'm like, I don't know, I just want substance. Like I had a talk the other night with someone about Lyme's disease for a while, and it was awesome. And we just talked about Lyme's disease for a while. Yeah. And that was really cool because it was like we had like a real conversation, and like that's awesome. Right. Like
yeah, small talk sucks.
Yeah, like I would much rather have a real conversation with someone and really like connect with someone and talk about like something real than just some bullshit, or like, you know, like, oh, so like, see you're wearing a Slayer shirt. That's cool. What's your favorite album? You like Rain and Blood? Yeah. You know. Right.
Bullshit.
It's like, I don't know. That's cool. Thanks.
Right. All right. Well, no, I like that, man. I like that.
So what's the next song?
I get that all the time. I'm just kidding. Well, the next song is Don't Tread on Me.
I feel like this is the OEO song.
Is it? Let's see.
Here, I'm going to do a little Google while you're talking.
Was it not in the beginning?
I don't know.
Yeah, can't remember.
I just swear they have a song where they do that.
You're probably right. I don't know if it's on this record. Either way, Don't Tread on Me. We kind of actually already touched on what this was a little bit as far as like what my question for you was going to be. But don't tread on me. The phrase taken from the Gadsden flag.
Okay.
Famously,
Yeah.
obviously the yellow flag with the rattlesnake on it.
Yeah.
Its design proclaims an assertive warning of vigilance and willingness to act in defense against coercion. So this has led it to be associated with the ideas of individualism and liberty.
Mm-hmm.
But so now the rattlesnake component being the predominant image on the cover of the album.
Uh-huh.
I was going to ask you if you could tell me a little bit about the cover of your album and where the idea came from.
Okay. Yeah, it kind of just came from, having to redesign the album and being influenced by the single.
Right.
Which, coincidentally, the eyes. Nobody's called me out on this yet, and so I'm just gonna say it. But the eyes are a direct ripoff of an early Comme des Garçons ad.
Comme des Garçons? What's that?
Comme des Garçons is a fashion label.
Okay.
It was like an early. It's like a Japanese fashion label that Ray had designed for I think it was a window installation back in, excuse me, maybe it was the 80s or something like that, and I ripped it off.
Oh, okay.
Completely.
Wild. All right.
Nobody called me out on it. And
Yeah.
people were like, that looks like the blah, blah, blah thing. And I'm like, no, it doesn't. And people were like, that looks like them. I'm like, no, it doesn't.
Okay.
It looks like something else.
Well, I'll just delete that, okay? I'll just edit that out. Just in case, we don't want Chris X to get any problems either.
It's not the same. It's not like taken from it, but
Sure.
it's influenced by it. It's like, she had like two blobbed eyes that looks like a skull, and then like
Right.
something else underneath it that looks like she actually has a nose and stuff, but it's just like a weird looking skull thing. And I was like, oh, I really like that. I'm using that.
Yeah, inspiration is fine.
It's not
direct lifting.
I didn't directly lift it.
Correct.
No.
Not a problem.
No, that's not my game. I'm talking about inspiration.
Yeah. All right. Okay. I kind of want to get to this question. So the next song being "Through the Never."
Okay.
All right. So now I got this long thing that I got from songtell.com. It says it's basically defines what the songs are. It kind of gives a song meaning. So it says it speaks of being curious and of finding how it all began. Ultimately, the song calls for perseverance, urging the listener to move, quote, on through the never and seek the edge of forever. It serves as a reminder that life is full of mysteries, but that understanding and peace can only be reached by trying to find our way through the never-ending journey. I also think that it kind of feels like a typical existentialist question, right? Huge void, never-ending time and space, limitations of human understanding, we hunger to be alive, and so forth. I guess as a kid, if that's when you discovered this, which it was when you were 12, did you have any acknowledgement of that?
Yeah, so for better or for worse, like my mom had me reading a lot when I was really young. So like I think that's what ended up drawing me to like probably away from like stuff like this and more probably towards like indie rock and like Nirvana and Pearl Jam and stuff like that was more poetic, existential, like thought-provoking things. Like bands that made you actually think and feel something, and it wasn't just like, oh, this is heavy rock music. Like it was definitely more of like the fact that something was being said. So I think
it's introspective, so it kind of makes you question.
And I remember like reading. I'm not going to sit there and tell you that young 12-year-old me knew what I was reading, but I remember my mom would have me reading, like, I'm trying to think of like shit that she would have me reading like as a kid, like Lord of the Flies and shit like that, like when I was like 12, like, or something, and I'm like,
sure,
shouldn't be reading this at 12. Like, give me a few years, like, to figure out, like,
Well, if you were an advanced reader, like my youngest son is 13 now, and he's an advanced reader, and so I've actually have some books in the house, and it's like, you should probably try to read this. Don't tell your mom I told you could.
Yeah, sure, but like it was just it was just things that I don't know if my brain really got the meta of any of it, or sure. Like, like I was reading it and I was you know, getting through the book, but
it was compelling.
I don't know if I was really digging like as deep as I should have been at the time. But like, you know, like a few years later, I was reading like Kafka and stuff like that. So I wasn't that far off.
No.
Like, you know, and I remember like even just stupid things. Like I remember like a few years later after that, I was like into like my favorite lyricist is Tim Kinsella.
Oh, okay.
He's like my favorite lyricist of all time. I remember the first time like opening like a Joan of Arc like lyric book and being like, oh, they're all printed like E. Cummings. Like that's pretty cool. Like and then being like, why do I know that? Like, you know, like that's like so stupid. Like,
that's such a strange reference,
you know,
right?
That's like so much like down the road, but like it's just bizarre. Anyway, but yeah, like I think I'm trying to think what the original question was. Kind of existential.
Just if you had any acknowledgement of that as a kid, like, or was it just kind of like, hey, this is a heavy song that fucking kicks ass?
Yeah, no, lyrics are always very important to me, but like I said, but lyrics for Metallica were never important to me,
especially at 12.
So if anything, the lyrics would have turned, like Metallica was like a lyrics turn me off, if anything, band. It was never like a like, dude, James hit it on this one. Like, wow.
Well, you know, that's funny because I probably would have agreed with you and completely agreed with that sentiment. I want to skip a few songs. I want to get down to The God That Failed, because now this is a perfect example of this. Now, I guess maybe the structure of the lyrics is kind of a little dull, but the content is pretty impressive, because essentially James Hetfield was raised as a Christian Scientist. Yeah, are you familiar?
Yeah.
Which essentially is a religion that shuns medical science and believes that God will heal the body. So essentially, this song was written in direct correlation to his experience with his mother becoming ill and eventually dying due to that illness.
Okay, I think I've heard. I think I did hear that before.
Yeah.
That's
so I
mean,
so she wouldn't take medication for her illness. I believe it was a cancer, and so it eventually, took her. And it's because of her inability to her pride, essentially, to her devout faith to this religion that just deterred her from taking any medication to possibly furthering her life and actually getting healthy.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I don't have a question for this song, but I just think that it's interesting because...
I think it's extremely... I'm trying to think. I mean, it's obviously powerful, but like, it fucking sucks.
Yeah.
But,
but he was willing to kind of reach these points within himself at this point, because he realized that he wanted to make a more universal and a more like compelling album in general, like in all aspects, not only just the music but the lyrics as well, the vocal styling.
Yeah.
So and then this is just one of his first, I think, attempts at being incredibly vulnerable and and open about his personal experiences.
Yeah. No, it's like that weird thing of like, I don't want to sound dismissive of like, I'm almost like, I get that and I appreciate that, but like, I'm sure Ed Sheeran does that.
Yeah, but for like, metal too. Yeah. I mean, that's a thing too.
No, that's a very good point. And I guess at that point, like a lot of people probably weren't doing that.
No.
So that is I wonder when that came out. Like, do you know, did he say that at the time?
What?
James,
that
about what the song content was, because I never knew that as a kid. Like, I just heard "God That Failed" and just I was like, oh, it's just still like a croissant wrapped song about like God failed, like like we're
religion
gonna hear
sucks or whatever,
vulgar display of power in a few years, like it's gonna be cool, angry metal.
I actually don't have a specific reference to that. I know that I've kind of
I was just
found it in the research. I'm not sure exactly at what time this was disclosed, but that essentially is what it is. So, I mean, I just find it, for what you're saying, just because I understand that, this is not necessarily your favorite record of all time. It's important for certain reasons. And just because you had said that you don't think that James Hetfield is a good lyricist. Like, you never really kind of considered his lyrics. I think that this is compelling in that specifically for that reason, because like I said, I agree with you.
I agree with you. I think it is compelling for that
with
reason.
new information shared. I mean, obviously it kind of changes your mind if someone can give you something that says, hey, well, contrary to what you believe, there's this.
Yeah.
So,
but I think that's wild. Like, I mean, like, I guess I was just thinking, like, wow, poor dude. Like, man, like, he's been through a lot. Like, like, his mom. And,
sure. No, I mean, he has. I mean,
I'm like, and here I am caring about his art. Like,
hey, man. I mean, first of all, I think he's probably pretty used to it. Gets a lot of criticism, especially after this record. Like, every record after this got a lot of criticism. I mean, you think about Saint Anger and fucking. Especially after Robert Trujillo joined the band. I mean,
personally, James, I think you're great.
Yeah, that's nice. Yeah. I hope he hears that.
Yes.
All right, so look, we're just going to skip on to the last song because we're kind of running out of time anyway.
Okay.
The Struggle Within. So I like this song.
Okay.
I think it feels like older Metallica. It's kind of more like old thrashy Metallica.
I remember the last song being
a good one,
a thrashier song.
Yeah.
So that's all I remember about it. I don't remember the riff or anything. I'm like, for some reason I remember the album ending decent.
Yeah. So no, but like, it also seems similar in sentiment to Holier Than Thou.
Okay.
Like, lyrically speaking, I feel like, I don't know, like, not so much feeling the weight of the world, like the title, like the title suggests, right? But pinning that on the person they're speaking of, as if like, as if like they victimize themselves, like they're speaking about themselves in this way, like they're kind of describing their own struggle.
Okay.
It's more of a introspective song, more so than like kind of pinning it on somebody else.
Gotcha.
So I don't think you seem. Well, based on the conversation we've been having, I kind of feel I can't see it on you, but I think that you clearly have a little bit of insecurity in yourself based on what you said about your music and kind of how you write, where you come from lyrically. So what do you think you struggle with?
Like, as far as in life, or like,
I mean, like, we can narrow it down to like music, maybe.
I struggle with making connections with people.
Mm-hmm.
Mainly because I'm just like, oh, this is just for me.
Right.
Like, I'm like, I know that like this is probably not going to connect with other people. I know I'm like a 44-year-old straight white male, and like there's plenty of other people out there that deserve this opportunity more than I do.
Sure.
Like fuck me. Like who cares like about what I have to do or say at this point? Like
yeah.
And I'm totally on board with that. But like there's other voices that need to be heard more than mine, like, by all means, and I'm down with that. Like,
sure.
But like, I guess my insecurities are trying to I guess navigate my place and find my place without nudging my way in somewhere, because I don't want to step on toes. I've stepped on too many toes throughout the years, and I just don't want to do that anymore. I'm kind of in a better place now, and I just am much happier easing my way in. If that works, cool, and if it doesn't, cool. And at the same time, just don't be a dick, and let's all not be dicks.
That's
like,
pretty good.
Like, let's just all be good to each other.
I completely agree with that sentiment. Seriously, 100%. That's the way I live my life now. It's just try to be cool to everybody. I mean, that's all it is. That's all it takes. That's all it takes to make a difference, right?
Yeah.
So let's kind of focus on that, I guess.
Yeah.
Cool, man. Well, listen, it's such a pleasure to have you here.
Sure.
It's been,
Thank you.
I haven't had people here in forever, and it's just kind of nice to have you here and be able to kind of
thank you for welcoming me.
Treat you right. I know what it's like to be a band on tour, and like, it's not all sunshine and rainbows. So and in any way that I can help, I'm happy to do it.
Absolutely. I appreciate it.
So thanks for the talk, man.
Thank you.
Good luck on the rest of your tour. And what else do we need to know about the band? I mean, the record is out currently, correct?
Yeah, the record's out. Go to Reptilian record site, and you can buy it there. That's the best place to get it.
You have it at shows too?
Support Chris. Yeah, we have it at shows.
Great.
I like to tell people to go buy it directly from Reptilian Records.
Right.
Because that's the best place to get it.
Okay. Great, man.
Yeah.
Well, thanks again, man.
Appreciate you.
Appreciate you. Vinyl and Vision is a Psychic Static production. Theme song written and performed by Jeff Robbins of 123 Astronaut.